What's up, YouTube? Welcome back for another college football preview video. This week we got Big 12. Last week we had, not last week, but the last few videos we went over ACC and we went over Big 10. So if you haven't watched those, make sure to go watch those. Today we're going to go over Big 12. Next video we're going to go over SEC. And then after SEC, we'll start doing some college playoffs predictions. And from there, we'll get the season rolling. So with that, we'll get started with Arizona. Arizona's the first team. This team just joined the Big 12 conference. They're going to be rolling in with a new conference with a new head coach. Former San Jose State head coach Brent Brennan. He's going to lead this team this year. And he'll be returning with Noah Fifta, McMillan, and Takario Davis. They're all big-time players sticking around for the team. Last year, they had a very impressive season, finishing 10-3 in the Pac-12 conference. Had a really good team. This year, it's going to be a tougher conference, so the win-loss projection is going to be lower. It's set at 7.5. New conference, they're going to be tested. They got a somewhat difficult schedule. We don't really know how good these teams are right now, but like if you look at the projections, Kansas State, Utah, those are like the two favorites to win this conference. They're going to play both of them, plus the Texas Tech team and a hype train that is Colorado. So pretty tough schedule there. Their former coach, Jed Fish, they took most of the depth pieces with him to Washington. So it's going to be interesting how this Arizona team is going to be. I mean, they got that quarterback they have there in fifth. He's a pretty solid quarterback. I like how he plays, but 7.5, some decent competition in this conference. This is going to be a fun conference to watch because it's a new conference with all these new teams. You don't really know who the true favorite is, so Arizona could just come out and just start taking over this conference. But I think they're one of the, I would say they're like an upper half level team in this conference, but I don't know. I think they're going to be a solid team.
I agree. Arizona's non-conference schedule is non-existent, if we're being honest. That means they're going to have 2 to 3 wins locked in. They play Utah, that sucks. Texas Tech, they should probably get that win. But Arizona, actually, they have the number 1 projected ranked quarterback, Noah Fifita, as you mentioned earlier. He kind of came to stardom this past year. I don't know if he's a freshman, true freshman, whatever his class is, I don't know. But this was his first year playing after the quarterback last year got injured. So this is his first true season as a starting quarterback. He lived up to 0 expectations last year. So now that he has some expectations, let's see what happens. Arizona, on the other hand, their transfer portal success was minimal at best. I mean, it's 8th in the conference. It's what we call it, average. Recruiting class is terrible. It's one of the worst. They have 13 remaining starters, which is around the middle of the pack for the conference. 7.5, you said it was? Their wins?
Yeah, that's where the line is at.
Well, I can tell you that they have the best strength of schedule, meaning they have the weakest schedule in the Big 10, in the Big 12. So I think they'll hit that.
Okay. All right. So Noah Fifta, as you mentioned, he is a sophomore now.
Okay.
I believe. So he has all the room to progress. So if he takes that step up, I can definitely see them taking it over. And like you said, their non-conference schedule is pretty poo-poo. So moving on, we got Arizona State. Arizona State last year they finished 3-9. Give it up for Arizona State. Yeah. This year looks like they're giving them a better projection.
4.5.
4.5. You got it. So, but don't get too excited now. I know they got up in the projection, but this team still lacks star power and depth. Their quarterback is going to be a Michigan State transfer, Sam Levitt. So no real excitement there. And of course, they got a tough schedule. One of their non-conference schedule include Mississippi State. Mm-hmm. And they also got to play teams like Kansas, Texas Tech, Utah, Oklahoma State, UCF, Kansas State, and Arizona, like we mentioned earlier. So not a light schedule. It's going to be tough, and not much excitement going in for Arizona State. I definitely see them at the bottom here in this conference.
Yeah, there's nothing to write home about with Arizona State. They do have transfer quarterback Jeff Sims as well. He has been passed around like a college whore.
Nice.
It's like he's from Tridel, dude. It's insane. But Jeff Sims, he might be the starter. It might be Jaden Rashada. Who'd you say transferred in?
Sam Levitt?
Sam Levitt. He's a quarterback too?
Yeah.
Okay. So they have 3 sort of fringe starters that they can choose from. They're mediocre at best, but this team as a whole is mediocre. I will say their strength of schedule's pretty bad this year. It's 10th overall. So it's one of the worst, or one of the best, one of the worst schedules to have in college football. Their transfer portal was 4th, recruiting class was 7th. They also have 13 recruiting starters. Who do they play besides out of conference? They got Texas Tech, Kansas, Utah, UCF, Kansas State. They have a pretty easy Big 12
the
schedule.
top dogs.
They have a pretty easy Big 12 schedule, honestly. I think Oklahoma State's going to be their toughest match. Oklahoma State's probably the favorite in the Big 12 right now. But overall, their Big 12 schedule's not terrible. But Mississippi State's going to roll through them. Texas State could also upset them. Wyoming could even upset them. I don't like this team at all, really. But 4 wins, let's give them 3.
Yeah. It's a little match last year. But that quarterback, that transfer, I was saying Sam Levy, I think he's a redshirt freshman. I'm not sure, but he's a young guy, so he will have an opportunity to, he has all the room to improve, so we'll see what happens there. But still, nothing else on that team to be excited about. So, moving on, we got Baylor. Baylor last year, the Bears finished a measly 3-9. Seems like every team, let's give it up for Baylor. It was a good try, boys. It's a new year. New year, new team.
Yes.
The line set at 5.5, so they got a little bit more expectation with them. Dave Aranda's on the hot seat after back-to-back 3-9 seasons. Fired both his coordinators, and he's going to be taking over the defense himself. He hired some other coordinators there, but he's definitely in desperation mode right now as he's trying to keep his job, definitely be fighting for his job here. And he brought in DeQuan Finn, a quarterback from Toledo, and I know you liked him a ton last year. So, solid quarterback there. As far as the schedule goes, their out-of-conference games aren't too bad. All I see is Tarleton State, Air Force.
Excuse you, Charleston State, the powerhouse?
The powerhouse. You can go watch the powerhouse for only $21. How about that? It's a lot cheaper than Northwestern, I'll say that much. And that practice facility games.
How are we looking, though? Did we raise enough funds to go to that game?
Not quite. I think we raised a measly, including last weekend's, a measly negative $30.
I think it's negative 150 for me.
Oh, great. It can only go up from here. But anyways, that's the conference goes. They gotta play some top dogs in this conference as well. Utah, Colorado, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and then it's Kansas as well. So not an easy schedule here. Definitely see why the projection's low, even if they got kind of like an exciting quarterback coming in. The team shouldn't be too bad, and I can definitely see some room here for some upsets for the Baylor Bears. But again, the schedule is pretty tough. But again, the Big 12, you don't really know who's good and who's bad compared to one another. Yeah, we got to see how they play against each other. So we can definitely get like a surprise in this conference. So I'm excited to see what happens there.
I am excited to see DeQuan Finn in the Big 12. I think this is his conference. If he was going to go anywhere in the Power 5 or Power 4, I should say now, this is the conference to go to.
Yeah.
You got Shador Sanders.
Does it include the Pac-2?
You've got KJ Jefferson at UCF. I mean, you got a lot of quarterbacks who can run the football. And DeQuan Finn's going to do exactly that. The Baylor Bears transfer portal sucked. Recruiting class sucked. The only player of notoriety they brought in was DeQuan Finn. They have a shit ton of starters though, returning, 18 of them. And if you include DeQuan Finn, they have 19 starters essentially coming in. That's really good. Their strength of schedule is all right. It's 34 nationally, with Arizona being the worst at 60. 34 is middle of the pack. It's not bad, but I like Baylor. I like Dave Aranda. Is he the coach for the future? I don't know. He seems very old school to me. It's all gonna depend on this year. If they even, I don't know. If they barely make bowl eligibility, he still might be gone. I think this is a make or break year, meaning he needs to hit big. And are Baylor going to win, let's say, 8-9 games? I don't think so. So I think Dave Aranda is out.
Yeah, I think at the very least he has to at least make a bowl game, so that'll be interesting to watch. Next team, we got BYU.
Go
Who are
Cougs.
they? The Cougars. The Cougs, Dan's favorite team. I forgot about BYU. Last year they finished 5-7. This year they're projected to be one less at 4.5.
All right.
They returned most of their offense. Let's go.
All right.
I don't know why you're cheering, but BYU. Well, the Cougars. That's why. Nonetheless,
All right.
they returned most of their offense. They returned most of their offense that struggled last year. What? They're in Utah, right?
They are in Utah, yes.
That explains it. That explains the names. Okay. They returned most of their offense that struggled last year. Uncertainty at quarterback. It's either going to be ex-Baylor quarterback Gary Bohannon, who, he was part of that 2019,
Yikes.
or Jake Retzlaff, something like that. They're underdogs against the top contenders in this conference, and, this team struggled. They returned most of their offense, and they struggled last year, so that's just, I don't know. Let's look at taking a look at their schedule real quick. First game, they got a tune-up game against Southern Illinois. Nice.
The Sakunas.
How the heck do you know that team's name?
Sorry, I'm just a college football expert. I don't know what you want from me.
All right. And they play against most of the top teams, or the projected top teams in this conference, so it's not looking good for BYU, and I don't have high expectations for them either. I think they'll be towards the bottom.
No.
With Arizona State down there.
I don't even like their freaking out-of-conference schedule. SMU's going to roll through them. Wyoming is a decent team. Decent group of five school. Maybe a fringe college football playoff team these days with how bad the group of five's looking these days. Kansas State's going to run through them. Baylor's probably going to run through them. Arizona, bad. Oklahoma State, bad matchup. Oh my God, dude. The only win I see them having is Arizona State. So I got them winning 2 games this season. Their strength of schedule obviously reflects what we just went over.
Hey.
Transfer portal, they are the second worst in the conference. Recruiting class, 5th though in the conference. That's not bad for BYU. It being a Mormon school and all, these college kids what do we call it? They want to go Mormon on us. Good for them. There's a lot of soaking going on at that school. Just weird vibes overall at BYU, and I think it's gonna bite them in the ass this year. BYU 2 wins, I'm giving them.
Yeah, Cougars and soaking. That's a good combination to get recruits. So
Oof, I don't know, man. I don't know what they're doing over there.
All right, moving on. We got the Cincinnati Bearcats. Their line is set at 5.5, so they're expected to be a mid-level team. Last year they finished 3-9. This year,
Oh, I thought we
we're
were
going for the
clapping.
Bearcats.
I thought we were clapping for the 3-win schools. It's the last one.
It's all right. 3-9 team. You guys got an opportunity. You can only go up from here, right?
Exactly.
That's what you would expect.
Yeah.
Cincinnati. Brandon Sorsby from Indiana will be quarterback here.
Yikes.
So they got an upgrade at quarterback. They added some defensive pieces from the portal. All 5 starting O-line and top running back returns this year. And they got a favorable Big 12 schedule. And just taking a look there, they play Townsend's their tune-up game week 1. So that's a solid game right there. They play Miami of Ohio. They got to play teams like Houston. And they don't play as many as like the high expectations team in the Big 12. So they got a pretty solid schedule. I can see them making a bowl game, getting at least 6 wins. But they'll definitely have to pull up a few upsets in here, which I think they can manage. So Cincinnati, I think to be like a mid-level team. I'm not expecting nothing too much, but I'm definitely expecting an improvement from last year.
Wow. I think you're being generous once again. Brendan Sorsby, I guess, was decent at Indiana. I don't really know much about him, but he's coming to Cincinnati where the competition is probably going to be a little bit of a step down. I can't imagine it's a huge step down from Big Ten. But Cincinnati, they have a second-year head coach in Scott Satterfield. He was good. I can't remember where he was at before, but he's a good coach. I just don't know if he's going to be able to elevate Cincinnati to the level where they need to be this year. Their schedule's not bad. They're at a conference. They're going to beat Pittsburgh. They're going to beat Towson. They're going to beat Miami of Ohio. The real Miami. We'll get there eventually.
The real Miami.
And then their in-conference schedule, let's see. They at UCF, they're going to play Colorado, Kansas State, TCU. It's a pretty easy Big 12 schedule considering the teams that they could be playing. What'd you say the line was for them? 5?
5.5.
5.5? Give me 6. Give me 6 for Cincinnati. Why not?
Yeah. I was going to say, that's what I was thinking as well. All right. Moving on, we got the hype train that is the Colorado Buffaloes.
Here we go.
Pretty much Deion Sanders' team. 28 newcomers with focus on the trenches with O-line, D-line. Last year, a disappointing 4-8 after an incredible start. They started off well, upsetting the TCU team that went to the national championship game the year before. And their line is now set at 5.5, interestingly enough.
Wait,
I
what?
can expect that.
5.5 wins?
Yeah, that's their projected line right now.
Wow. All right. Jesus.
Yeah, I can only imagine Vegas is getting blown up with overbets for Colorado. They have arguably the best quarterback in the nation, according to NCAA 25. Tied for first with Carson Beck, surprisingly. But he's definitely the best quarterback in the Big 12, at least, I would say. But again, unpredictable team. And they got a tough schedule in the Big 12 here. They got to play teams like Nebraska. They struggled with Colorado State last year. They got to play them again this year. We'll see how that happens again. They got to play UCF, Kansas State, who else? Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. It's a tough schedule. I can kind of see why it's set at 5.5 here, but I think it's definitely over. I think they definitely make at least a bowl game, and because if not, Deion Sanders is going to be pissed. So. He probably get rid of the whole team at this point. You got watch out, Colorado.
Honestly, I thought you were going to say Deion Sanders is going to be on the hot seat. I'm like, you are crazy.
No.
Deion Sanders will never
I think
be
that's
on the hot
impossible. I think it's impossible. That's the way he's able to recruit. So I don't think he's ever going to be in the hot seat unless he really shits the beds this year. But I don't see that happening. Every game here is being hyped as the ticket prices are at least over $100, except for Arizona. That's the cheapest one with $35.
Still not as expensive as Northwestern.
No, even the North Dakota State game is at $117.
Well, that
But
North
the
Dakota
Arizona
State
game is
game,
at $35.
that's a scary matchup, dude. I respect Deion for this schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, that Nebraska and Colorado State are locked in from last year. Colorado State's always going to be on the schedule. It's just that in-state rivalry game. It's never going to go away. But North Dakota State is the number 1 FCS school and has been linked to the FBS for ages. It's just they can't get a licensing deal done. So North Dakota State versus Colorado, man. Oof. 8 p.m. on ESPN. That's going to be a damn good matchup, I think.
That'll be a fun one.
I think that's why Deion scheduled it, though, is because it's the best FCS school. Colorado, if they're as good as they say they are, they should roll through them. But if it's close, man, that's going to be a tough start to the season. Looking at this schedule, 5.5 does seem kind of tough, I won't lie. We don't know how good Kansas is going to be this year. I mean, they've been hyped for 3 years straight now and have fallen off. Nebraska has that new true freshman quarterback coming in. But Colorado, man, they are the last chance U of college football, it feels like. Now, I know last chance U is a JUCO, so technically college. But this is like last chance U on steroids. It's like everyone from every school wants to come play at Colorado to either revive their NFL hopes or just play with their buddies. and play with Deion Sanders. So I'm interested to see this, how this formula is going to work for them. Because they have people from all over the country transferring to this school. I mean, you got people from Clemson, UNLV, Texas, Ohio State, freaking FCS schools. I mean, this is a weird cesspool of a team, honestly. And I'm interested to see how it works. I think 5.5 might be fair now looking at their schedule. But give me 7. Let's make them bowl eligible. Screw it.
There we go. That's the spirit. But I feel like we'd be mistaken if we don't mention Travis Hunter as well. He's probably one of the most hyped up college prospects from last year and this year, playing both sides of the ball. I think this year you probably start favoring one side. So we'll see what that is. Yeah.
I totally forgot
and
about
then for
Travis
some
Hunter.
reason. Oh my god.
He's an engaged man. He had a hell of an offseason, that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally forgot about Travis Hunter.
He completely trashed his own line when he was playing NCAA. Like, his own line protected for crap, and he goes, yeah, this game is realistic. I was like, damn.
Well, he has a new O-line this year, so he's not really trashing the current team. He's trashing last year's team. So I respect. He has a whole new O-line. I think he has one returning starter that's on the O-line. How many overall returning starters do they have, Colorado? They have 14, which is actually a lot better than I would have thought. With all the teams that they have coming in.
like 2.
Yeah, exactly.
3.
But I don't think it's going to... I think that literally means returning starters, but they're probably not starting this year. I mean, this team is stacked with transfer portal talent. But you got to be able to have chemistry on the field. You got to turn relative strangers into brothers. And you have 3 months to do it. Can Deion do it? Most likely.
Yeah, most likely. And I just want to bring up one more thing. For some reason, the most expensive game on their schedule out of every team
UCF
is Cincinnati.
Oh wow,
$252. And they play teams like Utah and Oklahoma State, and those don't even break 100. But Cincinnati, almost 300.
You're talking about home games that are the most
here?
expensive for them?
Yeah, these are all home games or home games for them. They play like Nebraska at home, Utah at home, Oklahoma State at home. But Cincinnati, out of all teams, the most expensive one?
Oklahoma State, that game might be worth something for them because it's the last game of the season. And they could be fighting.
If you want to go, it's only 93.
No, I'm good. But I think because the Cincinnati game is smack dab in the middle of the season, it's going to be probably a make or break game for them. That's probably why the tickets are expensive. I can't imagine it's expensive to watch Cincinnati play.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that Oklahoma State matchup, though. That's the last game of the season.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Definitely some fun matchups there. All right. Moving on, we got Houston.
Oof.
Last year, they finished 4-8, and they're projected to stay consistent with that with 4.5 wins. So give it up for consistency. We love to see consistency in college football.
That's
it's
what
a
matters
tough thing
most.
to have.
Yep.
But if Houston can get 4 wins, they'll have consistency. Daniel Holgerson is the new head coach there. Lowest win-loss projection, or tied for lowest win-loss projection in the Big 12. They got 26 transfers. Uncertainty at quarterback, with one of their main quarterbacks, Donovan Smith, having off-season shoulder surgery. So it's not what you want to hear. And they have a difficult schedule as well. And let me just pull up their schedule real quick. Yeah, okay. So they got to play Oklahoma. That's one of their non-conference games. Oof. Plus, Iowa State, Kansas, Utah, Kansas State, Arizona, and their other non-conference games, UNLV and Rice. So, Oklahoma, yeah, that's a very tough one. So, and not a lot of hype with this team, as the most expensive ticket is set at $34.
There we go.
So
that's more like it.
Yeah. Way to combat inflation, boys.
Good word.
That's what we love to see.
Good word for you, inflation. Wow.
So I can definitely expect these two to be towards the bottom, and that's all I got on Houston. I'm not high expectations for them whatsoever.
They brought in some decent transfers. Some that come to mind when I'm just scanning the list is Corey Platt Jr. from Tulane. He's going to be a senior this year. Last year, Cedric Melton from Ole Miss. You've got, what's his name? Mekhi Muse from Georgia. He started a bit. He didn't start, but he played a couple games. And then Zion Chris, the quarterback from the Raging Cajuns, Louisiana Lafayette. He's probably going to be their starter, I would imagine. He played at Lafayette for years, so I assume he's probably going to get the bump, especially with the one quarterback you said a shoulder injury, I think you said. But
yeah,
Houston, their transfer portal ranking matches what I just said. It's 5th in the conference. I think they had a relatively good transfer portal session this year. I didn't name a lot of the other ones, but they have a pretty solid lineup. Recruiting class sucked because they probably spent all their resources on the transfer portal. Returning starters are the lowest in the conference at 10. And then straight the conference is the worst in the conference at 3 nationally. So give it up for Houston. They are going to
we love effort.
They're going to win 3 games this year.
No. Prove us wrong, Houston. All right. Moving on, we got Iowa State. They ranked number 1 in returning production. They're going to have Rocco Betts, the quarterback, returning, and they got 9 defensive starters returning as well. This is a defense that allowed 5.2 yards to play last year, so pretty solid. All 5 O-line returned, and they're potential dark horse for this conference as that defense. You know, they returned most of their defensive starters, and they were already good enough last year. They finished the season 7-6. Their projection is 7.5, so they're kind of expected to be consistent. If you take a look at their schedule, they open it up with the tune-up game with North Dakota, not the state,
but
Bisons. Just the regular North Dakota, not the Bisons. And they also have Arkansas State. They play Iowa early on in the season. That'll be a tough game. Other than that, pretty light schedule as they got Houston, Baylor, Cincinnati there. So they got a favorable schedule. They're going to definitely have to pull up some upsets here and there, which I can definitely see them happening. So I think they can win at least 8 games. So I like the over there. So that's kind of my expectations there. I think they're more likely to be towards the top than in the middle of this conference.
Not much to say about Iowa State other than they are the Clemson when it comes to transfer portal. They have almost no activity besides players leaving. They're going to have to stick to their homegrown talent from the recruiting class. They were 9th, though, this year. But they do have the most returning starters in the conference at 19. So they're going to bring back pretty much their entire squad last year. But the conference got harder. And they went 7-6 last year. I think 6-6 because they won their bowl game, I think. They did. So they were 6-6 last year. And they arguably are going to be better, but the competition's going to be better. Put them at 7 wins this year, going into the bowl game, so they can get 8.
And that'd be a good season for them as well. So
that's girl math logic right there.
Girl math logic. I guess. Some college football logic. All right. With that, college football math. I remember that from last year. We want to bring that back. Moving on, we got Kansas. Last year they finished. They had a pretty good season, 9-4. This year they're expected to be around the same, 8.5 wins to loss. That's the line. They returned Jalen Daniels, the quarterback, running back Devin Neal, and they got a top 3 receiver. Their top 3 receivers all return. The program seemed to be turned around from what we usually expect from a Kansas team. So they've been getting hyped, like you mentioned earlier, and they're still going to be receiving that hype this year. They got high expectations. They haven't won 9 games in 16 seasons. Can they do it this year? The projection is at 8.5. And taking a look at their schedule, I think they can definitely achieve 9 wins. One of their non-conference game is Lindenwood and UNLV. They might have somewhat difficult one in Illinois. I think they can win that one. So that's 3 right there. Let's see, West Virginia, Arizona State,
Why'd
Houston,
you say it so redneck? West Virginia.
BYU, West Virginia, Mountain Mama. Because they got the Mountain Mama.
Jesus.
I see 7 low difficulty wins for them there. So they'll just have to win two more from there, and that just includes Kansas State, Iowa State, Colorado, Baylor's there as well. So I think it's definitely likely from them. They got not too difficult schedule, and I can see why they got high expectations.
Can we just appreciate the last year of Kansas's greatness? This is it, man. All these guys who were sophomores when they popped off during the pandemic, because of the grace year that they got, they're all seniors. They're all fifth-year studs. This is it. This is Kansas's last year. Yeah, I don't know their head coach is Leopold or some shit like that. Sorry.
It's the effort that matters.
But this is it, man. This is their last year of greatness, I feel. It goes downhill from here for sure next year when they lose probably 15 people. Can we talk about the Illinois game? The tickets being $5.
Yeah, I don't understand what the pricing going on here.
I want to go to that game now. $5. Jesus. We can definitely afford that. We don't need a GoFundMe.
In the middle of butt crack, Kansas.
Well, it's in Illinois, but it's the effort that counts.
Just gotta go to the middle of butt crack, Illinois.
They have no presence in the transfer portal. Their recruiting class is number 4 in the conference, so maybe they do have a little bit of a pipeline heading there. Pardon me, 13 returning starters. It's actually one of the lowest, but all those returning starters are fucking studs, and they're old. So I like Kansas. I've been rooting for them for a long time just because I love the underdog story with them. And then they started to get old last year. So I'm resurging my pride and joy for Kansas. I'm hoping that they do well. And I'm hoping for a 10-win season, man. Let's do it, Kansas.
Let's do it. Moving on. We got Kansas State. Commercial break. Hi, my name is Josh, and I suck at NCAA. And I also decided to interrupt the video. Last year they finished 9-4. Over under set 9.5, and they're probably top 2 favorite team in this conference. They've got one of the highest over unders in this conference. So they're coming in with high expectations. They got Avery Johnson as their starting quarterback. They have a 2-headed running back tandem in DJ Giddens and Dylan Edwards. They are an offensive firepower. They're usually known for their defense, but this year they're going to be known for their offense. They're reloading their defense, but replaced 4 of their starting linemen. They're favored in 10 of these games, which 9.5, that's a pretty good line if they're favored in 10 of them. Their out-of-conference games are manageable. Tune-up game against UT Martin. Pretty not too bad Big 12 conference. They got to play teams like Houston, Arizona State, Cincinnati, BYU. So I think this team, I can see why they're favored just looking at their schedule. But yet again, it's hard to predict the Big 12 this year, but I can understand why they're one of the favorites.
This team had one of the worst transfer portal outings in terms of people leaving the program. Avery Johnson, he rose to stardom in the bowl game, I believe it was, for Kansas State. And he popped off that game, but that's one sample size for him. If he continues to perform like he did in that bowl game, this team's going to be a problem. Because they have Dylan Edwards coming in from Colorado, who was the workhorse last year for them. They have Dante Cephas from Penn State. They got Quentin Rice from BYU. I mean, this team, they brought in some decent talent in the transporter as well. I just think they lost more. You said the line was 9 for them?
Yeah, 9.5.
Their transfer portal and recruiting presence is trash. This is one of the teams that they're going to fall off a cliff either next year or the year after that, depending on when their talent pool fizzles out. They only had 12 returning starters this year, so I think it's starting. Be on the lookout for Kansas State. This is probably one of their last years at the top 2. And I think they can do it. It's all going to ride on Avery Johnson's shoulders, though. I think he's a true sophomore or redshirt freshman. But there's a lot of expectations for him, and he's going to have to show out because of how high the ceiling is. The floor is really low for this team because of that. I'm going to say 7 wins for Kansas State.
Moving on, we got Oklahoma State. Last year finished 10-4. This year the line set at 7.5. So setting low expectations for them, in my opinion. They have a potential Heisman candidate in Ollie Gordon II.
Shout out.
They returned 20. Shout out Ollie Gordon. They returned 20 of the 22 starters. They're number 4 in returning production according to ESPN, and they have one of the best linebacker groups in the nation right now. Taking a look at their schedule. not too difficult schedule. South Dakota State, Arkansas, Tulsa, their non-conference schedule. Pretty easy, I would say. Arkansas isn't what they used to be, so I definitely think they can start out 3-0 before they even enter the conference play. But they have a tough first conference game in Utah and Kansas State back-to-back. But from there, not too bad. West Virginia, BYU, Baylor, Arizona State, TCU. And they finish it off with Texas Tech and Colorado. So Oklahoma State, I think they'll have a high expectations as the season goes on, especially in the beginning when I expect them to start 3-0. And I think 7.5 is too low for them. I think this is gonna be one of the best teams in the Big 12. So I think they'll be towards the top, maybe a top 3 team in this conference is my expectation for them.
Holy shit, man. Their starting quarterback this year is returning for his 7th season. God. He's older than us. College players should not be older than us. We're not old, but come on, man. That is insane. Alan Bowman, please, for the love of God, have a good season, because if you don't, this is going to be really embarrassing for you. Oh, okay. I can't remember. I don't know who's older, him or Stetson Bennett, when all the memes came out. But this guy, his 7th season due to a medical waiver. I think Stetson was in college for 8 years, which I don't even know how that's possible.
Crazy.
I really don't know how that's possible. I like Oklahoma State this year, but they have a really tough schedule. I mean, they play Utah the last week of September, or the second to last week. And then they play Kansas State. But that Utah game is going to be a tough one for them right off the bat for Big 12. But other than that, it's not a terrible schedule. You got Colorado to end the season. Texas Tech might be decent this year. BYU's BYU. It's played at 10:15, prime time for them. Oklahoma State, what'd you say the line was?
Oklahoma State, 7.5.
They'll hit 7.5. Let's give them 9 and then 10 wins for the bowl game. I think they'll fight for a Big 12 championship. I don't know what it was Oklahoma versus Texas, right? Last year? Or no, it was
last year.
Texas, Oklahoma State.
Texas, Oklahoma State.
Yeah, so Oklahoma State made it last year with 9 wins. They can make it this year, definitely, with Texas and Oklahoma both gone. Give me Oklahoma State as a favorite to win the conference.
All right. And I definitely agree with you on that one. So, with that, we'll move on with TCU. Last year, 5-7 season. This year, line set at 7.5. So, bookmakers are expecting a upgrade. Yeah, upgrades, people, upgrades. Let's go.
Good for them.
TCU, high expectations. Yes, brother. I like to set low expectations. Let's go. Moving on.
Oh,
Staying in topic. They got tons of transfer this year, 20 plus, including Notre Dame wide receiver Braylon James and edge rusher Nana Osafo-Mensah. Don't cancel me.
Don't know why you chose that name.
But after disappointing last year, especially after making the national championship game, they definitely decided to make some moves. Their top players did leave the team. It's an interesting team with a lot of rotating pieces going on. So I think it's definitely going to be one of those unpredictable teams. They're set at 7.5. I think that's a bit high for this team. So, but just look at the schedule. They got playing teams like Stanford, Long Island University.
Nice.
All right. What's the mascot for that school?
I couldn't tell you.
I think they're the Sharks. Their in-conference schedule includes UCF, Kansas, Houston, Utah, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State. It's a manageable schedule, but I think they'll definitely lose some there and lose some games that they're expected to win. So I think it's going to be a mediocre TCU team. I expect them to be the middle of the pack in this conference.
Yeah, the only saving grace for TCU is their transfer portal class. Set at 3rd in the conference. Their recruiting class also was 2. So they're really, while also devoting time to the transfer portal to better their team for this year, they're spending a lot of resources for next year's. That's good because they're going to need it. TCU this year, they're not bottom of the barrel for the Big 12 because, I mean, we have BYU and Cincinnati and Arizona State. But they're pushing on 5 wins again this year. It all depends on whether they can that SMU game is going to be a big one for them because I think SMU is pretty good. They're not ACC standard good, but they're competent. So that's going to be my tester right there. UCF, I can never read UCF now, and we'll get to them later. But that's going to be a swing game for them. Third game of the season on Fox. It's at home for TCU, so theoretically they should win that game. But TCU, I don't know, man. I don't know how to read this team anymore. So I'm just going to stick with 5.
Yeah, that's the thing with most of these teams in this conference. You know, it's a new conference, new teams. You don't really know what to expect from these teams. Move on. We got Texas Tech. This team is coming in with some hype. Their line is set at 7.5. They finished last year 7-6. Their quarterback Morin is coming back. Star running back Taj Brooks. They're both returning. So this is definitely a high-powering offense last year, and they will continue to be as they added 5-star wide receiver Micah Hudson, Arizona State Jalen Conyers, and Washington State #1 wide receiver Josh Kelly. Their O-line is restocked with transfers, and their schedule seems pretty favorable for them. They got played. Their non-conference games includes Abilene Christian, Washington State, North Texas, and then their Big 12. The hardest Big 12 team they got played is probably Oklahoma State and Arizona. Other than that, you know, they got teams like Cincinnati, Arizona State, Baylor, TCU. They got Colorado in there, and then West Virginia. So 7.5, I think is more as a result of who they got to play this year, and I think they can definitely get at least 8 wins just looking at this conference. But I don't think they'll be able to compete. Like, I don't think they're gonna make the Big 12 championship game. I think they'll be up there, but I don't think they'll be one of the better looking teams in this conference, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. This team would have benefited by bringing in some high caliber quarterback from the transfer portal. I know they don't have the money to do it, but they would have really benefited from it because the team as a whole is solid. I just don't know who the hell their quarterback is. I know he played well last year, but Baron Morton,
Yeah.
I have no clue who this guy is. If he can prove me wrong, it'd be phenomenal. But they would have benefited with a Cam Ward. If they would have gotten a Cam Ward, a DeQuan Finn, someone who's more dual threat, this team would be devastating this year. But Baron Morton, I don't know. Prove me wrong. I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. But they popped off in the transfer portal and the recruiting class. They had the number 1 recruiting class in the Big 12, which is shocking when you consider Colorado is now in the Big 12. And I would have sworn they would have been the top. But Texas Tech, who knows about them this year? I kind of want to put them as a dark horse, man. I just don't know about this quarterback, so I'm going to stick with 7 to 8 wins. And depending on how Baron Morton plays, they could be a fringe top Big 12 school.
I will say, in Moore's defense, he does play good. The only thing is, once he got that big step up when they played Texas, he only threw for 88 yards on 36 attempts and 3 interceptions. So not a good look there.
But that's Texas.
Yeah, that's Texas. That was Texas. It was a hard game. But in their bowl game, he actually did pop off. 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, only 1 interception. So
if he plays well, they could get 9 wins and put themselves in a good spot to play for the Big 12 championship. It's just going to depend on him because I think the team as a whole is pretty solid.
Yep. So with that, we're going to move on. UCF Knights.
Charge on.
Finished last year. Charge on. Last year, 6-7. This year, over-under line is set 7.5. They're going to be coming in with some expectations, rightfully so. They got KJ Jefferson as their quarterback 1 with RJ Harvey, who is a transfer. Or no, not transfer. RJ Harvey's returning with the team, and then they got a transfer running back in Penny Boone. Mm-hmm. And they also got another Cincy transfer, Miles Montgomery. They might have the best rushing attack in this conference. Okay. They also have a new league defense, and their offense is definitely going to be high-powered. Just adding KJ Jefferson, he's going to be taking this team to another level, I think. And especially on the ground game. This team's ground game is going to be incredible. It's like you're going to have to stop them in the ground to beat them. So, and I think the defense is going to be improved. So I can definitely see why they're getting expectations. I think they'll definitely win 8 games. And then they got some 50-50 games on their schedule. Mm-hmm. They started off the year with New Hampshire and Sam Houston. And then they also got to play Florida Gators, which is a tough one.
Oof.
So we'll see how they handle that. But their conference game, their toughest conference game is definitely going to be either Colorado or Utah. So with like some 50-50, I think it's going to be like a 50-50 game between Iowa State and Arizona. So, and I definitely would favor UCF there. So I think they're definitely be on the top. And this team is honestly my dark horse to win this conference. I really like this UCF team. So,
that Florida game really saves their non-conference schedule. I was talking to my brother as he went to UCF. We went to their bowl game when they played Florida. I want to say it was 2021, 2022. I can't remember what year it was.
Yeah.
But their fans were crazy at that game. It was a sold-out game at Raymond James for a bowl game in December 20th or whatever. And everyone was talking about this game at this time in 2024. It's finally here, and I'm so ready for it. I'm just a little worried for UCF because I think Florida's a lot better than they were in that game, the bowl game wise, and plus they had a lot of opt-outs. And Florida, say what you want about Graham Mertz, he's still the quarterback, right? I know we haven't done our SEC, but I think it's still Mertz.
Yeah, he's still the quarterback.
So Mertz versus KJ Jefferson,
Go.
They're both quarterbacks that started off really hot in their college football career and then sort of leveled out. It's gonna be, I don't know, man. I was high on KJ Jefferson, and then he just got stale to me. I think he got a little chubbier, which no offense to him, but he was already. He wasn't the most athletic looking guy in the world. He wasn't very fast, but he could still move the ball and run around a lot. So if he can keep his mobility with Gus Malzahn's offense being more of an option philosophy, they could have something going with UCF. I mean, they are going to lose one of their top, I think it was a 5-star recruit a couple years ago, Bowman. He was a running back who was supposed to take over for Harvey. He entered the transfer portal a couple months ago, but they got someone else, and I forgot who you said. But this team's going to have to rely on their running game, and their defense is going to have to be solid this year because I don't think their wide receivers have anything to write home about. I like UCF because my brother went there, but I am also a USF boy. So we'll get USF bowl eligible. 6 wins.
All right. The 6 wins for UCF. All right.
USF, 10 wins. We're going to the Natty this year, boys.
You guys might go undefeated with that. We'll move on with Utah. Last year they finished 8-5. Give it up for Utah. This year, their high expectations, over underlines 9.5. And guess what? Guess who's back?
I can't wait.
Guess who's back? Finally back.
Is he confirmed?
Cam Rising.
Is it confirmed he's back?
We don't know. We've been waiting for the confirmation all last year, week after week. From week 1, we were questioning whether if he's going to play or not. Never came back.
And we still don't have
This
confirmation. I got to be honest. We still haven't gotten it that he's starting.
I know. This year, though, this year might be the year he comes back. Because last year it wasn't it.
Oh, God.
So, if he's back, huge plus for Utah.
God.
With that, they beefed up their offensive roster, and they already have a solid defense, as they usually do. They got a favorable schedule. They entered this Big 12, first year in the Big 12 conference. Can they win in the first year? That'll be impressive. We'll see. They got to play teams like Southern Utah. Oof, that's tough, right? Southern Utah. They got to play Utah State. Oof.
Oh, my God.
Man.
Dude, relax.
BYU. Oh, man, I don't even know if they're going to... BYU? They're playing all these Utah teams. Wow. All right. Well, good for Utah, man. Own the state. King of the Mormons. With that, their Big 12 the Big 12 conference schedule isn't too bad. UCF, Iowa State, Colorado, and then Oklahoma State are their toughest ones. I think it's definitely going to come down to that Oklahoma State game to see who really is going to run this conference. Mm-hmm. And they open up the season with Oklahoma State, so that'll be a tough game off the bat. So I can definitely see 10 wins is reasonable. They'll definitely be on the top. So I think this team you can almost lock them in for the championship game, but I'm not going to do that. They'll definitely be in the top. Again, this conference is too unpredictable, so I can see why they got high expectations, and I definitely expect them to be there at the top.
I agree. I actually almost forgot about Utah when I was prepping for this video because my top was going to be Oklahoma State versus Texas Tech. Texas Tech sort of as a dark horse, just variable. But Utah, they're going to be at the top of this conference. They should be at least. That game, September 21st, mark your calendars. It's going to be in, I don't know where Oklahoma State's at. I should.
Yeah, it's be at Oklahoma.
Yeah, oh my God, what's the city called? Whatever. Boone.
Let's find
Boone,
out.
Pickens? Stillwater, Oklahoma, whatever. It's
Where
at
the hell
Oklahoma
is that?
State. Stillwater, I don't know. I think it's more west Oklahoma, but I don't
Little
know. I'm
butt
not a
crack
geography-
Oklahoma.
I'm not a geography major. But that game is going to be under the lights, most likely. They haven't confirmed it yet, but I assume that's going to be under the lights in Stillwater.
TBD.
First game in the Big 12 season for Utah. Big game right there, man. If they come out and they fucking knock the walls off Oklahoma State, they are definitely the favorites. If it's a close game, this could be a rematch in December.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Give me 10 wins for Utah just because I had to have a 10-win team, so give me Utah.
Yeah, and I was going to say, man, you got to have a double-digit winner here somewhere, right?
Well, you have to, statistically. You're going to have one, so they'll be my one.
All right, cool. With that, we'll move on. Next team, we got West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, a pretty good season, 9-4.
Yep.
This year, lower expectations at 6.5 wins. Garrett Green is their quarterback. Great RB duo in Jaheim White and CJ Donaldson. I know you're a big fan of CJ Donaldson.
I was,
Yeah.
yeah.
You was. Oh, can't wait to hear about that. They lost a lot defensively, but they brought in a transfer defensive I'm gonna cut that out. They lost a lot defensively, but they also have a tough schedule this year. Hardest in the Big 12, and just combined with them losing a lot of defensive talent on that team, it might be a year to skip if you're a West Virginia fan. They start off the season with Penn State. That's hard enough.
Ouch.
Yeah, and they got to play teams like Kansas, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Kansas State, Arizona, UCF. You pretty much play almost all the big dogs in this conference. So, yeah, I can see why they have a lower under line set, and I would probably lean the under in this one for them.
West Virginia, take me home. Come on. To a place. There we go, Matt.
I belong. Something.
There we go.
West Virginia.
Uh-huh. Beautiful.
Mountain Mama. Take me home. Country roads.
There we go. Like I said, CJ Donaldson was a huge fan of him, and guess what? I still am a huge fan of him. I love that guy. He will be the number one running back in the conference, in the nation, and he will be a Heisman candidate this year for the 4-8 West Virginia Riders. No,
that is bold, my friend.
in all seriousness,
that is bold.
In all seriousness, he's not going to be a Heisman candidate because West Virginia is going to win 5 games this year, but he is going to put up some numbers. I mean, it's kind of hard not to put up good numbers when you're freaking the size of Derrick Henry, and then you have the speed of Jahmyr Gibbs. This guy's pretty good, CJ Donaldson. He's going to be an NFL running back one day. I think he's still a sophomore, so he's got one more year. He's the only shining light on this team, though. Garrett Green, their quarterback, coming back, but they had low expectations last year and blew him out of the water. This year, they have low expectations as well, but it's not going to end up the same, I don't think. I think this team's doomed. Give me 5 wins, maybe 6 if they can get lucky. But that's it, man.
All right, I just have one question for you.
Okay.
You think he's going to be better than Ollie Gordon Jr.?
Yes.
Or Ollie Gordon II?
I do. I think stat for stat, CJ Donaldson will do better than Ollie Gordon.
All right, that's interesting. All right, can't wait to see. Donaldson's a junior, so I think he will be
Draft eligible.
eligible. Yeah, after this season.
Perfect.
So, Oh,
Actually,
right.
I might have to take that
So-
back. Wait. I might take that back because Oklahoma State's quarterback is garbage. So I think Ollie Gordon is going to run the ball a lot. And Garrett Green's actually a competent quarterback. So if I had to be realistic, Ollie Gordon's going to have better stats. But who's going to have a bigger impact? C.J. Donaldson. Final answer.
All right. That's on record. That's on record, by the way. All right. So with that concludes the Big 12 conference preview. Stay tuned for SEC next week, or next video, I should say, whenever that comes out. So keep an eye out keep an eye out for that. And after that, we'll start doing our college football playoff prediction videos. We're going to list all 12 of the teams we think should make the playoffs. So that should be a fun one. And it's going to be a fun season. Stay tuned for NFL content as well. And yeah, come along with the season. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, send us to a Northwestern game. That's still our goal. $300 tickets in their practice facilities. That'll be great. That'd be great time.
Can't wait.
We have to make a challenge. We have to make a challenge. Like every first down. No, not every first down. Every time Northwestern scores at a game we go to, we'll have to like drink or something.
I'm down for that. You know I love drinking.
We might be leaving sober.
Oh.
We might be leaving dead sober.
Oh no.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more content, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.